My name is Petula and I'm an Agile Coach. In today's video, we are going to talk about Agile Coaching. What is it? What does an Agile Coach do? Isn't it like the Scrum Master? Well, let's find out. Agile coaching is a little bit of a misnomer because yes, there is coaching in this role, but that's not all about it. The best way to understand it, I find, is by looking at the Agile Coaching Competency Framework, which was proposed by Lisa Adkins over a decade ago. And it is what most Agile coaches do use to interpret and enact the role of Agile coaches. So let's take a look. The Agile Coaching Competency Framework proposes 8 competency areas and a coaching stance that is central to it all. First and foremost, an Agile coach must be an experienced Agile and Lean practitioner, having that deep, practical experience and understanding of agility is key. So, having used those frameworks such as Scrum, having used systems like Kanban, having taught teams how to operate on extreme programming practices, thinking about all the best tools for sprint retrospectives, having put in place or taught your teams how to do continuous integration, what else? Techniques for estimation, effective estimation for fantastic planning and forecast. All these things combined with understanding how to put practices in place, what are the difficulties of doing that, but also understanding the benefits that certain practices will bring. These things are so key to build your comfort and ease, and even more so, your credibility as an Agile coach. And it is so because, let's say, if you were a tester, a developer in an Agile environment, or if you were maybe a Scrum Master or a product owner in a former Scrum team, you would have gone through the pyramid of Agile knowledge, which goes from the bottom, which is, the values that solidify and ground everything, all the way to the tools that you use for running your Agile space. Now let's look into the content part of the framework and start with teaching. As an Agile coach, you are expected to teach people in all those techniques, in all the practices that you know as an Agile Lean practitioner. You will be called into that. The first thing that comes to mind, and it's easy to think, is that many companies will adopt frameworks such as Scrum or systems like Kanban, and you come in to help them understand and put those in place. But it is not just that. The heaviest part is that you will have to teach people how to achieve a new mindset. Certain people might have been used to giving orders, for example, and now they need to learn how to be inspiring, how to delegate, how to give autonomy. And then the people who were used to receiving orders, now they will need to learn how to self-organize. So it's more about learning new ways of thinking, new ways of doing, more so than learning technique A, B, C. For the companies that are brand new to Agile, I would say teaching is a very big, very heavy part of the job, but it goes beyond than just knowing all the things, all the concepts that you need to teach. And the key thing for the Agile coach will be how to teach and figuring out the right time to teach, because you won't be transforming the company in this one big training set. It's just not feasible. So you will go from one-on-ones to workshops to actual training, but you will be figuring out all the possible opportunities to be teaching people in their various stages of understanding and knowledge of agility. Now we look at mentoring. Sometimes you can approach learning differently. Less as in telling people the answers and more as in building capabilities so that they can make decisions to advance their own careers. Mentoring is a way of doing just that. Mentoring is sharing your experience in a given context. It allows you to give someone perspective of all the things that are possible while leaving them entirely free to choose their own options. A great example, if you were a Scrum Master for many years, you probably have your 3 magical retrospective, your favorite retrospectives that you run, and you get results from that. It's a great way of showing what worked for you before. Maybe you have a script for the perfect sprint planning. It used to work for you before. None of this might necessarily work for the person now, but you're just showing, that's how I've done. These are the results I've got, and that's why. And all that conversation and that exploration of the things that have been done and could be done are also a way of helping people to learn and advance their concepts. Moving on to the process side, we have facilitation. The facilitator is an impartial view holder. That neutrality is really important when you're trying to make a group of people reach an agreement, make a decision, and sometimes just to make sure that all the voices in the room are being heard. The way a facilitator will prepare and host meetings will vary enormously, mainly considering the objective of the meeting and the audience that will be there, but also considering the facilitator's style and personality. Some facilitators are more visual facilitators, others have a more collaborative style. It doesn't really matter. As an Agile coach, you have to have fairly decent skills of facilitation, but quite honestly, a little bit like teaching, facilitation is a profession in itself, and the body of knowledge, so the techniques it's huge. So there's a lot to learn in there, and you can go your own way just in being a facilitator. As an Agile coach, you focus on being effective. Examples of things that you would facilitate as an Agile coach: big room meetings like quarterly planning, journey map, story mapping, but also many meetings that don't really have a name, in which people are just trying to reach conclusions by themselves. So as a facilitator, you help structure the conversation. There is a before, during, after preparation and insights that you will bring. Many of these meetings could even just be a team trying to navigate conflict, and sometimes even one-on-ones in which you become, the Agile coach becomes the third wheel, just making sure that there is an objective line in the conversation and it doesn't become something hostile or non-productive. Still on the process side, we have the coaching competency. We are not talking about professional coaching. This is a profession in its own right. But we are definitely talking about helping people find their own solutions, and as a coach, keeping yourself detached from the outcomes. Definitely listening and asking important questions, unlocking questions. I do find that a key here is not letting all of that Agile knowledge speak too loud, because when you are in the coaching arena, you are not giving advice. You are just helping people to unlock their own potential. As an example, I might have a product owner coming talk to me because she is having a hard time managing her stakeholders, their expectations. I might then ask, well, what have you tried so far? What were the results? And I could even go as far as to ask, what really seems to be the real problem for you here? Moving on to the domain knowledge space. That is the kind of knowledge that will be very specific to where the Agile coach has made progress in their careers. You are certainly expect to hold some knowledge in all the 3 of them, but you can only master one at a time. Mastery is difficult. You need focus. So you shouldn't be growing and expanding in the 3 of them at once. You should think of this as your consulting space, because here is where, as an Agile coach, you are asked to bring expertise, advice really. You be asked to teach and design and even assess the current and future implementation of certain processes and certain techniques. Now let's look at each of them. We have the technical domain, the business domain, and the transformation domain. The technical domain is very simple to imagine in the software world. It's where you will know how to implement the techniques such as test-driven development, continuous integration. You will be definitely guiding companies in adopting all these practices and tools. And that will be different depending on the product that you're dealing with. So it's easy for many of us to think about the software products with the examples I just gave, but you could very well be operating in marketing or in civil engineering. And in civil engineering, let's say things like iterative development and test and learn, they have a very different flavor, and the things that are really possible for construction of buildings and sites will be very different than those that we apply for software. But the concepts, the principles, they're still valid, and you are the expert in bringing those things to life with the correct practices and the correct tools. And then there is the business side of things. Do you understand, like no one else, the intricacies and the market pressures of finance, of marketing and advertising, of big pharma? Adding domain knowledge, especially mastery, is a fantastic way of building credibility into your toolkit as an Agile coach, because similar processes will look rather different across industries. So when you onboard a client for big pharma, surely it won't look at all like onboarding new clients for, say, an advertising company. Also, there will be a lot of differences in risks, in compliance, in regulations, in etc. Finally, moving on to transformation. This is a really hard one. When dealing with organizational transformation, we really are talking here about culture change, leadership styles, new ways of thinking more so than new ways of doing. When you are involved in these types of gigs, you're really helping the company to reposition itself, because you will be working actually beyond process efficiencies. A whole department can disappear, other department can be created, roles change beyond nomenclature and beyond hierarchy. I find this particularly a paradise for coaching and facilitation opportunities, because the path is really uncharted. No two organizations will transform in the same way. So that is what the Agile Coaching Competency Framework brings to us. It is a framework, not a model. So it isn't prescriptive. It doesn't tell us the how, it tells us the what. It also asks you to hold a coaching stance, which is basically code for hold the client agenda, not yours. Have a signature presence that reflects your own personality and style, and reduce the client dependency on your services. This is a partnership, not a prison. Overall, as an Agile coach, you will be asked to make use of all of these competencies. For some clients, you might just be teaching more. For others, you might be facilitating more. You might even have shorter gigs in which you just come in, assess, and debrief. The possibilities are really endless. I hope this gave you an idea of what Agile coaching is. Let me know in the comments if this was useful, and maybe even if you want to follow up with, well, how do I become an Agile coach? That's it for today. I'll catch you in the next video. Bye.